With new truck regulations in our industry, on this episode of Driven Too Far, we're talking about not only compliance, but how we deal with safety. Hello, I'm Andrew Winkler with Chief Carriers, and this is Driven Too Far, the truth about trucking, a podcast that helps over-the-road truck drivers balance career and family. Welcome back to Driven Too Far. We are still out at Husker Harvest Days 2025, and our next guest, we've got James from Chief Carriers. And we've got Scott from Sahling Kenworth out of Kearney, Nebraska. Thank you guys for joining me today.
Thanks for having us. Absolutely.
Hey, well, the cat's out of the bag. We knew we were ordering 15 Kenworths. They came in a little early this year. And I don't think we had really told our drivers that they arrived yet because we're technically not taking delivery till October 1st. Scott was kind enough to let us bring one of the trucks out to the display here at Husker Harvest Days. James and his crew came and decaled it in Kearney and got it ready, and the truck looks fantastic.
It does, yes.
So tell us a little bit, what did we buy here? Tell us a little bit about the latest technology here in these trucks.
Chief Carriers purchased T680, Kenworth flat tops, sleeper trucks from us, Cummins power, fuller automated trans, and some manual trans. We mix it up, so I think that'll make everybody happy because there's a little bit of both. That is normally a fleet truck, an over-the-road fleet truck. However, we manipulated and managed the fleet spec a little bit for Chief specifically, and I think we built a very nice-looking owner-operator type spec. We put some stacks on it. We put some chrome on it. It's not a crazy spec, but it's a very workable, nice-looking truck, and so. Not only do we think it's a great spec for Chief, but we've even had people who have seen those trucks on our lot since the delivery of the first batch of them who think that's a great truck for me. If we're going to go forward with maybe some product changes in the Kenworth line coming up, that might be a truck that you'll see more and more of in the Nebraska market just because of the look of it. It's a work look to a truck, but yet it has enough dress up features with the chrome and the stacks and things like that I think it could be a good product long-term for us.
A little meaner looking than just your normal T680 that you normally spec out.
That's exactly right. It's not just the Interstate 80 passing by truck. It's one designed to turn heads, but at the same time, we want it to be one that is a very utilitarian, everyday tool that shows up on time and performs what it's supposed to do for Chief Carriers on a routine basis.
Well, and that's by design, right, guys? It's that's one of the things we do is we try to offer our drivers premium trucks, what we call a premium spec. It's I know everybody likes the long nose on the truck still. That's still a big thing for drivers, but the reality is that's very hard to run in a fleet and have any kind of efficiency. So, like you said, we spec'd them out. We put chrome on them. We put stacks on them. They are absolutely great looking units, and no, they don't look like a fleet truck at all.
And the way we spec it too, you don't sacrifice all that fuel efficiency. So they're still fairly fuel efficient, and we get that benefit too. But they look outstanding. So
they do.
So Scott, I know there's been a lot of talk here since the current administration. They made some EPA changes and stepped back on a few things, which some of us are in favor of. Tell us a little bit, has it just caused mass confusion with the OEMs, or do they know where they're going with all this?
We've had good conversations with our OEMs this past couple of weeks, so it's a good time to address some of those questions. And there's been, there was 3 articles in the Transport Topics last week that addressed both derate times and miles. There was one about whether or not the CARB EPA, conflation was going to still occur. And then there was one about, different emissions controls. And I think that right now the safe thing to say is that all those things are on the table and they're all still quite a ways away. I think that the quickest thing that could happen would be the change in the derate rules, where you would go from, a very short window and some pretty significant derate percentages to, I think that they could go up to 650 miles and maybe 100 hours. And I wouldn't be surprised if that could happen any day. And I think that there'll be some legal challenges to it, and they're testing some things as well to make certain that it won't affect componentry. But a lot of that comes from, a low, DEF level or a bad DEF sensor. A lot of times it's not truly a mechanical issue that causes that, Yet there's times that you're having trucks that can be stranded or, loss of power on the road. You're involving tows, you're involving, rescue units, all those things. So I think that could be a tremendous savings for not only manpower, but money, and something that could happen very, very soon. That'd be one of those things that I wouldn't be surprised to open the paper and see it any day. I know that we talked to some of our engine manufacturers in the last 2 weeks, as I said, and it was very much top of mind for them. The other things I think are a little bit, I think I heard this yesterday, in fact, that the EPA CARB mandate that, they were going to, conflate those two is probably going to get pushed back several years, maybe to 2031, where it was maybe a 2027 occurrence, but I think it's going to get pushed back as well.
Well, and I think, when the news kind of came out about the death and the derating and stuff, I threw something up on some of our social media sites, and I know instantly I had drivers, they read the same thing I did, but they took it as, oh, DEF's going away, we can delete the
We're deleting everything
and stuff, but that's not the case. So, James, what, like you said, the towing side of it and stuff, when these things derate, what actually happens? It's like, how fast do they slow down? Do they have to pull to the side of the road right away? And
so it all depends on what code, what sensor. Most of the time it's a sensor failure, right? And it's usually an electric internal issue. So it depends on what code it is, what sensors failed, but they can derate you down to 5 miles an hour after you shut the key switch off. So a guy has a check engine light when he stops to get fuel, shuts his key switch off and gets fuel. When he gets back in, he can't go anywhere. So hopefully he's at a truck stop, so he's in a safe place. But yeah, then you've got to tow it unless they've got a shop that can fix it there. So the cost is just substantial, and it has been for years. That's one of the biggest breakdowns is exhaust. It's not a mechanical failure. Tires are big too, but when your after treatment goes out or it doesn't read right, the EPA mandates that have been in there for so long demand these derates and eventually shutting that truck down. So it costs a substantial amount of money for these fleets and trying to get that guy back on the road. And then there's certain tests that you have to run to verify that you actually fixed it as well. So you can't even get it out of that derate until you actually fix it and then verify that you fixed it. So the computer understands that you did to get him, back up to full speed. And so you got downtime, you got repair bills, you got tow bills. So with lowering that threshold or extending that time frame is huge. That guy he can finish his route. He can finish whether that's getting him home or getting him, let's get this load delivered.
Get it to us.
And then get it to a Kenworth dealer or whatever dealer that can fix it. That's a huge change. And I think you're right. I think that's the one that's going to be able to stick right away. Because that just will be basically, an ECM update. I would assume they'll probably come out with a campaign. So for all the trucks that are out there now, I think they were going backwards with that. Hopefully, it'll just be like an ECM update, a campaign that they'll run, and then those new parameters will be in there. So that'll be huge for the maintenance side of things.
I agree, completely agree. I think that in a lot of the trucks, it'll be able to be a Bluetooth update where they won't even have to visit a site, either at home or on the road at a Kenworth site to get that done, or a Cummins site, whatever the engine manufacturer may be, that you can update your truck just by flashing it and you'll be good to go. So it would be a tremendous money saver for our fleet partners, for owner operator, for everybody in the trucking industry. It really would be.
Yeah, I was curious about that. How much would be kind of over the air type programming that could be done versus physically having to touch the truck?
Your older trucks, you'll have to touch. Your newer equipment, that your Bluetooth update,
that's got the over the air stuff that you can do.
You'll be able to do those. You'll want to verify that you've got everything, but that's easy to do as well.
Do you have any idea if you do have to touch the truck, like the cost side of that? Is it going to be regular type hourly cost, whatever it takes to plug in the truck to flash it?
Well, campaigns are normally done under warranty rates, so they're not significantly, they're less than a standard rate.
Okay.
And you're usually talking about trucks. Again, we won't have to touch them on the newer trucks, so they'd be a warranty truck, probably under warranty, whether it's base or engine componentry, whatever that may be. And if we don't have to touch them, you can do it, on yard, even on road. that would be, a no cost issue. The other things, I think it's going to be such a quick plug and play type of deal that there really won't be a lot of billing to speak of. Hopefully we don't find a whole lot of wrong with a lot of the ones that come in to get that updated either.
I am so grateful for some common sense finally in this industry around this stuff. But what does the future look like? What you're probably in the know. What can you share with us? What do the trucks look like 5 years down the road? What kind of technologies are on the horizon?
I think a lot of it is revolving around service. Parts are so expensive. Service is expensive. Breakdowns, everybody wants to manage breakdowns. That, as we just talked about, tows are expensive. Sending a second driver, a second truck out to those places, for our customers, we want to manage that as well as possible. So some of the things that we've heard, not only from, our manufacturing partners, but even engines, is predictive analysis, predictive breakdowns, where
AI, maybe.
Yep.
Here it comes.
I know. And I always say that the first person that sends a truck to me that says this truck is going to break down will be the first person. I just haven't seen it yet. But I think,
what do you do with that?
Yeah. How do I get that warranty?
Does the fleet manager send you that truck?
Yep.
That's right. But I think that if a truck can, notify, and I say this is that the truck has a personality, it's all computerized, Wi-Fi communications, but if they can broadcast some, events that are, coming on the horizon, whether it just be standard service or if there's a DEF quality sensor that started to, fritz a little bit, most of them just don't go out, from working to, they give some notice. And I think it goes right along with the derate. If you can get that truck from being, if it's, out on delivery, on route, doing work for your company, if you can get it to where somebody can look at it prior to having a breakdown event at a truck stop on the highway, which then involves all kinds of safety issues for the driver, for the truck. I think that those are the biggest things, that if we can, mitigate a little bit of the service dollars that are spent out away. It's always more expensive to get things done on the road. You're under load. You've got people waiting on your product. That's our main thing, is to give you guys a product that, we're a small, it's very important to us, but we're a small part of the overall, lineup of things, drivers, what you guys do, the equipment that makes, Chief successful in being able to sell their product to their customers. And so we want to be a dependable part in that chain.
Well, and I've always said, the trucks are expensive, right? There's no doubt about it, but it's actually the cost after the purchase. It's the cost of ownership of the truck that matters. Say, guys, I just want to wrap up here and tell you thank you. Thanks for joining us today, James and Scott. Again, thanks for letting us bring the truck out. It's going to be a showstopper.
Yeah, we love having our Kenworth truck out.
I bet you do.
One last thing I'll add is that we do have a location in Grand Island, Nebraska now. We've been in York and Kearney for some time, and we've built out a location that we hope will service Chief and other Grand Island people as well. So we're excited to get that on the ground.
Yep, that'd be beneficial.
That was a big part of our decision as well. Having a local support was important.
Terrific.
Right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yep, thanks.
Thanks again for joining us on this episode of Driven Too Far. If you're interested in joining a fleet that has the top specs in the industry, check us out at chiefcarriers.com.